Well, we've got some big entertainment news on the show today. We've got a movie that's been like 50 years in the making and a sequel that's been about 40 years in the making.
It's pretty interesting.
Both happening this year. We're very lucky. You just don't know it yet, but you'll find out in just a few. Hey, glad to have you back with us. We're going to get the show started today with the heavier stuff. And we start, of course, with some celebrity passings. Robbie Knievel.
Yes, Evel Knievel's son.
He had a battle with pancreatic cancer, but he passed away just the other day. I mean, Evel Knievel for us.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Right now on TikTok and everything, there's guys our age that have found the Evel Knievel dolls and the motorcycle.
Yes.
And they're putting like AC/DC music behind them and getting them to do these crazy jumps. And I still remember being I had to be 5 or 6 years old, but everybody gathering around the TV to see him, Evel Knievel, jump Snake River.
Snake River, yeah. That was a big one because
the Sharks was big.
He had done the motorcycle jumps for so long, and we'd seen him jump fountains and buses and everything, but the Snake River one that's like a rocket ship.
And on one of the streaming services, there's a documentary on Evel, and it's interesting. If you don't know a lot about him, watch it. Now, like Robbie Knievel, when he would do these jumps and match what his dad did, they have motorcycles made exactly for that jump with the right shocks and all this. Evel would jump these things he would go into the store and buy a motorcycle.
Just like any of us could have bought.
And they were showing the ramps, and they were just plywood. Like they would just hammer a ramp, and he would walk up there and go, yeah, it looks lined up. And Frank Gifford in the documentary talks about they go to Mexico, and he's supposed to jump like 15 buses or something. I forget the number. But he shows up, and he says him and Frank walk up to the ramp, and he goes, there's holes in the ramp, and the wood's bowed up and everything. And they get to the top of it, and he goes, my motorcycle will never make that. And he goes, well, let's back a bus or two out. Nobody will care. And he goes, nah, I said we'll do 15. We'll do 15. And
wow. I guess you have to have that attitude to be a daredevil, though.
Yeah, I guess.
The whole idea. I guess when you're Robbie Knievel, you're inspired by that, and you want to be like your dad and everything. But, man, if I had watched my dad go in the hospital as many times as Evel, break every bone in your body, I'm not sure I'd want to follow in his footsteps.
But also not following in his footsteps for that particular job. It's like, you're Evel Knievel's son? What do you do? Well, I sell insurance. I'm it's like, really?
But I do it in a wild way.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah. We get in a car together and we drive at a super high speed and don't wear seatbelts.
And like I said, he could never live up to his dad because the first thing I did was, well, yeah, but he has special motorcycles. They had computers. I remember he jumped some hotels in Vegas or something from one hotel to another.
I remember that.
And they had like wind machines out there looking at the weather and going, okay, he has to be at this angle to get this many degrees on the computer. And, Evel just, yeah, let's do it.
Not to crap all over Robbie right after he died, but
I just did.
It wasn't quite as good as Evel.
I stand by it.
No, sorry to see him go. That's terrible. And then the big one that had so many people just blown away, Marie Presley.
And I mean, the Golden Globes just recently, and she was called out by Austin Butler and said thank you. And then her last post on Instagram was talking about grief of her son who had committed suicide or took his own life. And it's just like,
Yeah, just kind of a tortured life. I mean, she had certainly many highs. I mean, and you certainly start out with a leg up when you're the daughter of Elvis Presley, but a lot of issues in her life, multiple husbands, and Nick Cage among them.
Michael Jackson among them.
Michael Jackson.
Remember when that kiss happened? It was so awkward and so forced and so weird. She was very unhappy about that. She said that wasn't part of the deal.
Yeah. And you hate to see it. And to be only 54 years old and pass away, I mean, it's tragic, it's heartbreaking, and certainly you have to wonder, man, does this family... I want to say a curse, but I mean, it's like the Kennedys when so many things happen to the same family. It's so terrible. She will be laid to rest by her father and her son.
Now, I know there's been some other deaths this past week or so, but who will be the celebrity third? They go in threes. And what I mean is not just a celebrity, because Lisa Marie, famous dad.
Okay.
Robbie Knievel, famous dad.
So, like, who's the celebrity with a famous parent who'll go next?
Yes.
Well, I mean... Isabella Rossellini comes to mind for me. She's a little older. Her mom was Ingrid Bergman, classic actress. So I haven't seen her do anything in a long time. And usually when celebrities kind of disappear and get quiet, one of two things: they're either just trying to get away from the spotlight, or they're sick.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Charlie Sheen then.
Oh well, that's a good one too. Although I think it seems like he's calmed down a lot now, but it would be unexpected because all the things he's done to his body.
Yeah.
I'll go you one more. I'm gonna go with his brother Emilio Estevez.
Oh wow.
He seems a little more out of shape. Seems like things could be pumping up in there. I don't know.
And that would just ruin the Mighty Ducks franchise.
Well, I think he already did that. He can only help the Mighty Ducks franchise by not being around. This feels wrong. I don't think we should be doing this.
Yeah, we're mocking pre-deaths now.
Sorry. But on the subject of death, we're going to do one more heavy thing, and then it's going to get way lighter. And I have not been following this story. I am aware of it, but I know you've really been following
Rach and I are
these murders in Idaho, these college girls.
It is so sad, and we're using it as an opportunity to talk to Lily about, because we're seeing all these house parties where they didn't know the people coming in and out of the house, and we're even talking to Lily about how you respond if someone is trying to be nice to you. Like, apparently this guy got very upset when he hit on a couple of women at various times they've reported, and they were like, he got really irritated when we kind of shined him on, like, you always have to be nice when you say you're not interested, not hurt their feelings, but you don't have to do something you're uncomfortable with either. It's
a scary world for young women. I'm glad that my daughters are older, although that doesn't make them safe by any means. But I feel so bad because having to have that conversation, to not just be able to turn a guy down, but to have to make sure you do it in the nicest, sweetest way so that he doesn't freak out and go bananas. It's a terrible way to have to grow up.
Well, and just the world we live in, all these amateur sleuths online, there's a teacher that is suing someone from TikTok that claims they solved the murder weeks ago, and they called a teacher out and said, this teacher, she's involved, and she did this because the evidence points to it. This teacher had nothing to do with anything, and now she was getting death threats and everything, and the same with one of the girls, one of the victims' ex-boyfriend was getting called out, and people were like, yes, you did it. And even his parents were like, he was with us. He was not involved. And people were just, I mean, that can ruin people's lives.
And it's, I'm not blaming it necessarily on this, but I mean, this is a crazy world where a show like Only Murders in the Building becomes a huge success. These three regular people who have this podcast and they're sleuthing and they're figuring things out. And so everybody thinks they're able to do that too.
Well, and that's why the reason why that show was written is because crime podcasts are so big right now. And there's been a handful of successes where someone's uncovered something or whatever.
I did see something recently where somebody was vindicated and released from prison over something that they found. And that's great. But they did the work, and they put in the work, and they found the proof. They didn't just throw out wild theories and then ruin somebody's reputation.
And that's always amazed me. And like, who was the crazy lady that used to be on scene? Was it Nancy Grace?
You had to be more specific. Oh, Nancy Grace, yeah.
Yes. And it always embarrassed me because I lived in California at the time, and every time she was on, she'd be talking about a murder that happened or something. And it would always be somebody from Alabama, my home state. And it was always embarrassing. Could be like, yeah, this is Bill from Alabama. Have they thought to look in the garbage can for a murder weapon? And I'm like, yeah, the police just forgot to do that, And
we scoured most of the area, and we figured this is good enough.
Yeah. So it's just like, trust that people, and I get it, sometimes they don't, but trust people are trying to do their job the best they can.
Yeah, well, the last thing that any investigator who's a professional needs is some rando out in the world who thinks they've got it figured out to start throwing theories. I mean, it's just, I love technology. I love that we can connect like this, but it is also very dangerous in a lot of ways. But okay, now to lighten it up just a little bit, here's a good feel-good story. You know me, if you've watched the show or listened to us on the radio at all, I'm a huge animal lover. I'm an advocate. Katie and I do everything we can in any situation. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times we've gone back and pulled roadkill off the road and wrapped them in something and putting them in the woods, or we buried cats and dogs in our yard that weren't our animals just because we felt like they deserved more than just to lay by the side of the road. So, I mean, this story happened here in East Tennessee. A couple was driving, and a bald eagle was in the middle of the road. And you don't realize, I mean, they're big, but you don't realize how big they are until you see a person next to them. When I saw this news story, I was like, God, they're so big and beautiful. But it had apparently either run into a car or it was stunned. So it was sitting in the road, and she got out of the car immediately and tried to just kind of get it to move.
Shoo it along.
Shoo it away, just see if she could get out of the road, and it just wasn't moving. And I have to admire the guts on this woman, because if this thing decides to snap to, you're going to be hurt badly, because, I mean, their talons are crazy. So she went and got like a coat or something out of the car, threw it over the eagle, and ended up picking the eagle up and taking it off the road and getting it off to the side of the road. And then, they stood back and waited a couple minutes, and eventually he kind of like shook his head and flew off.
Braver than me. At best, and I've done this, turtle. That's the only thing I'm stopping on the road to help across. Everything else, sorry, because I'm afraid it'll bite me or something. So a turtle, I'm pretty sure I can outrun.
Well, you say that.
Maybe not for long distance.
I've got a good turtle story.
Okay.
Katie, I was not with her on this one, but near where we live, there's a little lake near some apartments near our neighborhood. And often you see turtles back and forth. And once she got out, this is months ago, and it was a fairly good-sized turtle. So she was like, okay. And she walked up because she was going to help it across the road. And it was a snapping turtle. And, you think about turtles being slow and, they move like this. She was going to pick it up, and she kind of started to lift it, and his head whipped around super fast and took a swipe at her. And she was like, oh, and of course she said a few choice words.
Yes.
She ended up getting it off the road, but when she came home, she goes, hey, I got news for you. Don't believe Big Turtle. They're out there trying to press that they're slow and they don't move. This guy whipped his head around so fast. She goes, I was not expecting a turtle to be able to move like that. And his neck was crazy long and came around. So be careful. They're not as slow as you think. And some of them take your hand off a snapping turtle.
Okay, good to know.
So there's your turtle knowledge for today.
Okay, so I won't help any animals now.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to leave. Look for the little box turtles.
Yes.
You feel safe with those, I think. You'll probably be okay. Okay, not related to anything like that, but have you heard the news? Pepsi Zero Sugar, if you drink that, is changing their formula.
I didn't know there was a Pepsi Zero.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about diet sodas.
Is that the Clear with Van Halen's the theme song?
I think that's
Pepsi Clear.
Pepsi Clear, isn't it? Yeah, from back in the day. I just don't like diet soda. I don't drink a lot of soda anyway. I'm not a soda guy, unless it's got booze in it.
Well, have you seen the Tom Hanks drink?
No.
That he's talking about? It was all over. He was on Stephen Colbert. He accidentally found it, and everybody says it's delicious. And the Today Show tried it. They said they loved it. I haven't done it yet, but it was Diet Coke, about this much in the glass, and then about that much champagne on top of it. And they all say it's delicious.
Well, that's two drinks I don't like mixed together, so I don't think that's going to work for me. But I've never been a diet soda fan, and like Katie will be like, but this one, you got to try this one. And I will say, for my money, the closest I've had that isn't terrible is Diet Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
It tastes quite a bit like Dr. Pepper, but they all have that aftertaste.
So Pepsi Zero's changing.
They changed the formula, and my advice to them would be, hey guys, if you don't remember New Coke back in the day, be careful.
Pepsi must be in some trouble or something, because they've also announced they're discontinuing Sierra Mist.
Giving up that battle, huh?
Well, they were trying to compete with Sprite with it, and it never made a dent with Sprite. So what they're doing is going back now, and they're going to release, I want to say it's called Starry. It's a lemon lime drink, supposed to be a Sprite ripoff.
So they're ultimately just doing the same thing except changing the name in the can.
Rebranding it and trying to say, hey, here's another lemon lime drink. Please like it more than Sprite. And where's 7-Up in all this? I thought Pepsi owned 7-Up. Does Coke own 7-Up?
I think 7-Up's out on its own. I think somebody else owns 7-Up. I think. Because like when you go to the grocery, you got all the Pepsi products together, all the Coke products together, but 7-Up's in a little world, like kind of in the middle somewhere.
So Pepsi never owned it. Never will.
I didn't say they never owned it, but I don't think they do now.
Gotcha.
The only thing I know about Sierra Mist is you're allergic to it.
Yes, and that's the reason why there's bartenders. Listen up. Used to drive me nuts. I'd go in and say, like, at the time, I forget what my drink of choice was.
We were drinking vodka Sprite.
Vodka Sprite. And I would go in and say, hey, I need a vodka Sprite. And they'd go, okay. And I said, no, it needs to be Sprite or 7-Up. It can't be Sierra Mist. And they'd go, oh, it's not Sierra Mist. And then about 20 minutes later, Tony would go, that's Sierra Mist.
Well, the one time I remember this happening, and we've often in our careers, a lot of people have said, oh, they're together all the time. They assumed we're gay or whatever, and we were a couple. And I think that's a lovely mistake to make, and it's nice. It shows, I think, our relationship.
It is like a marriage. We're together all the time, and there's no sex.
I have never felt more like your wife than that day. I marched up to that bar because the guy had said, yes, it's Sprite, and within a couple of minutes, his face is getting red and splotchy and swollen. And I'm like, well, that's Sierra Mist. And I went up there with that drink and put it on there and said, you might have killed him. I start laying into him. Do you see? Look at his face. You said this was Sprite. That was clearly Sierra Mist.
And the guy copped to it and said, oh, I didn't think there was a difference. Yeah. And it's like, if somebody asks you, you should.
That's why usually when I'm ordering, and this is not true, but I'll say, hey, make sure that doesn't have whatever on it, because if I eat that, I'll die.
Yeah.
And that
most of the time.
It's a bit of hyperbole, but it gets them.
I'll give you a list of people don't say that to, because they'll bring it to you.
Okay. A list of people. I mean, I knew I was on some people's list. Maybe this is worse than I thought. I might need to talk about this a little more. So do you have a gas stove in your house?
Guard it with your life.
They can have my gas stove when they pry it from my cold, dead hands.
I'm telling you, weld a gun holster on your stove and put your gun there so you can protect it.
So this is a story that isn't that crazy, but then it becomes crazy because people make it crazy. They're coming for our gas stoves. You can't tell me what
they take our gas stove. What's next?
I mean, I want to just drive around in a car and stop and say, are you one of these people? And then just shake him and go, stop doing that. Stop being like this. So here's the deal. They have found, after, I guess, so long now, and I like gas stoves. I've always preferred them because you can control the heat a little better. But they can be a little dangerous, and they are going to start regulating some of the things about it. Now, I'm going to refer to my notes because I want to get this right, because I think this is important. I don't want to just guess at this. All right, so basically, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission said that they are looking at regulations on this because a lot of us didn't know this, but they have had some harmful impacts on our health and on the environment. And the big problem with it is I guess it really puts out a lot of, I think it's nitrogen dioxide. And that's a real respiratory irritant. It can add to the increase of asthma attacks, respiratory infections, respiratory disease. So you want to be careful about that. I guess they said 12.7% of childhood asthma in the U.S. can be attributed to the use of gas stoves indoors.
Well, you know, the thing is, if people that are getting upset at that, things change. Things progress. They get smarter. Remember when they used to have the big giant gas tanks outside your house?
Oh, the big propane tanks.
Yeah, the propane, you know.
We had one.
Yeah, things change. They don't have to do those things anymore because they've gotten better with things. And now, like, whatever this stove was called they had on the Today Show, these chefs were going, these are better. And, like, he moved a boiling pot of water. I mean, it was sitting there boiling, and he just goes and put his hand right on the stove, and it didn't burn his hand. He goes, now, if that had been a gas stove, I'd be really hurting right now.
Oh, electric stove, either one.
Yeah.
That's dangerous if kids are watching that, and they say, oh, I wonder if I can.
Yeah, but they said, you know, eventually if everybody gets this kind of stove, no more injuries like that.
So the gas thing, you know, don't worry. You don't have to give up your gas stove, but they do recommend that we take a few precautions.
Bury it in your backyard.
No, it's much easier than that.
Oh.
They said first thing is make sure your vent, and I didn't know this until the house we are living in now, make sure the vent is actually connected and actually pumps air outside the house. Guess what? A lot of homes don't.
Yeah, they just go right up into the cabinet, right?
Contractors are lazy, and they will cheat you. And I'm sorry to make this generalization, but it's what they do. They want to save money, so they stick a vent in there, and it turns on and everything, but it just pumps into the cabinets. It's not even connected to outside. That's dangerous, so make sure that it does. If it doesn't, then they recommend while you cook, you open the windows in the kitchen or open the windows around the house. If you have is it a HEPA filter? I know you guys have these. If you have one of those, kind of bring it into the kitchen, turn it on, and that can be enough for now.
If it's a filter or a purifier, we got it.
Okay, so just take some precautions. Be careful. They are going to make some changes probably, but in the end, don't be one of these people that's online making the gas stoves political and freaking out that they're coming for your stoves. It's not what's happening. Now,
I can tell you right now, if it comes down to the gas stoves, I'm getting a group and we're marching to the Capitol.
Yeah.
Oh, is that too much?
Careful. Don't want to scoot over.
That didn't work too well last time, did it?
Not too well for a lot of folks. Tons of big entertainment news. Let's start with a topic we've actually mentioned a couple of times, but you know, Prince Harry, or is he? Do we still call him Prince Harry?
I don't know. I thought they took that away from him.
That Harry guy, the Duke of whatever.
Yeah.
Duke, I don't know. He's got his book out there, Spare, and we talked about that a couple shows ago. It's selling like gangbusters, and we asked a simple question on our social media. You know, did you get the book?
And a lot of you have.
Yeah, several have. And then,
well, I mean, they sold, like you said, 1.4 million first week.
Something like that. And it comes back to something that we've seen. There's a reason that, you know, all the media covers when a royal gets married and stuff. People in other parts of the world care about these people. I don't know why. Like you said, why do people care about the Kardashians? Who knows?
They do.
So it was funny to me, though, in reading the comments, you know, the people who got the book, it was fairly simple. Like, yes, I got it. I'm here for it. This is crazy that, you know, what he's saying.
Bring me all the tea.
And then they leave it at that. But the people who don't want to have the book, now there were some simple no's or nopes, but so many people were just like, nobody cares about this. Of course I didn't. I wouldn't waste my money on these people.
Nobody likes it. And that's the ones that always kills me when they speak for everyone.
So passionate about their anger.
And I'm like, well, what about the 1.4 million that bought it? What about Miss Leanne Womack?
She did comment.
Thank you for that, Leanne.
Yeah, there you go. Very nice. So anyway, I don't know if you read the book or not. I'm never going to read this thing. Although somebody, I guess, did he do his own audiobook? He narrated it himself. So some people were saying they just enjoy hearing his voice narrate the book. Well, he's so posh.
Well, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with it, because from what I'm hearing too is that he's kind of threatening the royals with, be thankful of the stuff I didn't put in.
Well, that's always the tease. It's like, I could have done this.
Yeah, you want that out there?
If you've read it, great. If you haven't, great. Free country. You don't have to read it.
Well, the reality show he's got coming, he's moving in with a family of Hendersons, and it's going to be Prince Harry and the Hendersons.
That's better than the secret joke you made on the last show. I'll give you that. That's pretty good. I'm not saying I wouldn't watch that one.
Okay.
That's a possibility. Oh, also had a couple people ask, speaking of the last show, they said, hey, they asked if it was Bigfoot on my sweater.
Yes.
Yes, that is Bigfoot on my sweater in the last show.
You got a tat, too.
I got a Bigfoot tattoo up here. I'll have to show that sometime. And I got it at the Lucky store, but I got it a couple of years ago.
You got your tattoo at the Lucky store?
No, the Bigfoot sweater.
Oh.
So I just hadn't worn it in a long time. Broke it back out. Felt right.
Can't go wrong with Bigfoot. When I used to watch a show that everybody should watch, it was based on a true story, $6 Million Man. Lee Majors saved this country from Sasquatch, Bigfoot himself.
That was terrifying.
Who was an alien.
Yeah.
I mean, it's craziness.
Love $6 Million Man. Those shows, I had to hide. Like my dad would lay sideways on the couch with his legs kind of bent, and I would hide behind his legs because I was scared of Bigfoot.
Yeah, Bigfoot was something else.
Boy. So other entertainment news. I saw a couple of things. I wanted to share quick reviews. If you like comedians, we love talking about comedians, and Katie's great. She'll go out and venture into the unknown and find people, and then she'll come back to me and go, I think you might like this. So I've got her doing like pre-work for me.
Okay.
To see. And this guy is hilarious to me. And I shouldn't say, he's very, very funny. I wasn't busting a gut the entire time.
Gotcha.
But he's very funny. His name is Shang Wang, and the name of the special is Sweet and Juicy. Now, he's very funny, just plain and simple. He's a funny guy.
Like a Wendy's commercial.
But he's an interesting mix because he is an Asian man, kind of long black hair, looks a little hippie-ish, but he talks in a style like Katie was on. She goes, it sounds like this guy grew up near me in Vallejo. Like,
okay.
It's just, he's got a really interesting style of speech, but I found him very funny. So if you're looking for a new comedian to try out, you might give him a shot.
What was his name again?
Shang Wang.
I just like saying his name.
It rolls right off the tongue. And he's relatively clean. I noticed he only cursed a couple of times.
I'm out.
So if that's, if cursing, now he still, don't get me wrong, he still says a lot of stuff you're going to be like, whoa.
Okay.
But I thought he was very funny. And 2 movies, both of which were forced on me by my wife. One, I'm glad she did. The other one,
you're holding it over?
I'll get her back for that one.
Okay.
So the first one is a movie called Bandit. Don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's another based on a true story film.
I love it. And the fact that Jerry Reed played the snowman.
No, it's not that. Not that Bandit. Josh Duhamel, is that his name? Used to be married to Fergie?
Yes.
I guess he's marrying some like 22-year. I mean, he's having a real midlife crisis right now.
Good for him.
But anyway, he's great in the movie. Based on a true story. He's long story short, he's a bank robber, and I think he holds like the record for either the most consecutive or the most bank robberies in Canada.
Oh, okay.
He crossed the border from America, and then he just crisscrossed Canada over and over again, robbing banks. And Mel Gibson's in it. He plays like this guy who was like a jewel heist guy, and fascinating story. Very much of it true. And they do really cool things during the movie. You'll see some crazy things happen, and it'll pop up on the screen. Yep, this happened.
Oh, interesting.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. So I thought it was entertaining and fun, and you should watch that. The other one, you may have seen this come across your thing if you have Amazon or if you have Showtime. I think it's on Showtime right now. It's called Afterlife. My warning signs where I wasn't interested in seeing this movie at all was that it starred Justin Long, Liam Neeson, and Christina Ricci. Now, I'm not against any of those people. I think they're all very talented, but they don't have the best projects.
Yeah.
Now, Christina Ricci, just coming off Wednesday, was great.
But Liam Neeson's kind of, I mean, it's like, okay, dude, you got lucky and had a great action movie, and now you've done like 30 of them that are forgettable.
Now, the good thing about this is not one of those kinds of movies. So it's a different character at least. But when it was over, I was just like, It couldn't decide if it wanted to be a horror movie or a thriller, and in the end, they just didn't commit to really anything. And because of that, I stayed with it. She gave me the option to turn it off, in fairness. And I will say, I didn't turn it off because I was like, I kind of want to see where it goes. I want to see how it ends. But when it was over, I was just like, well, that's an hour and 40 minutes I'll never get back. I'm glad I didn't die during that. Getting to that age, I don't want to die watching stuff I don't want to watch. So anyway, I'd skip that one if you haven't watched it. Let's see, what else we got? Apple TV. Thank God for Apple TV.
Yes, because you know what this nation is running low on? Music shows.
Singing competitions.
How are we going to find talent?
We don't have them. We just don't have enough.
We don't have YouTube where people can expose themselves technically. You know, we don't have all these other competition shows.
I mean, it's not like The Voice is still on or American Idol.
Apple TV stepping up for us.
Yeah, so here's what we know about this show that they're launching. Good news for country music fans. It does revolve around country music. Okay, so this one's called My Kind of Country, and it's going to have Jimmy Allen, Mickey Guyton, and Orville Peck. And I don't know Orville Peck. I had to look him up, but I guess he wears a mask on stage. So I don't know what this guy's deal is. And if he may be great. I've never heard him.
Well, he's got a lot to live up to with the name Orville. You got Redenbacher.
Oh, sure.
You got the Wright brothers.
Wright brothers, yeah.
So, I mean, that's
about it.
Yeah, that's it.
That show that Seth MacFarlane did he?
Oh, yeah, the Orville. But I don't think that's a real person. So, there's a lot to live up to there.
Well, okay.
Remember when we interviewed Orville Redenbacher, and it was brutal.
I remember that we did, but I don't remember anything about it.
It was pretty bad. I mean, it was like...
Well, how good can it be? Why did we say yes to that?
I don't know. I think it's because it was Orville Redenbacher. We're like, this guy will be dead one day, and we'll be able to brag about it.
Maybe because I think about all the interviews we've done, and one of the worst was, and I was so upset, was Lou Ferrigno.
Oh, yeah. Well, he couldn't hear us.
I mean, that's it.
And that's not making fun of him.
No.
He has a hearing issue.
Yeah, I mean, he's
legally deaf.
Legally deaf, but it's
and they booked a phone interview.
He couldn't hear us, and we couldn't. Anyway, so. But I still take him over Orville Redenbacher, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even remember talking to him.
Can you imagine if Orville Redenbacher was the Hulk? Now you got something. And he pops like when he's...
Yes, I was going to say, it's got to make the sound of popcorn when he becomes...
Now we're on to something, folks. This is why we all get together.
We're just workshopping a new idea right here live.
That'll be a movie in a year and a half.
God, it probably will. That's the sad thing. once they get done remaking everything else. Okay, anyway, so this guy has a mask. So I don't know why he does that. My feeling is if you're really talented, you don't need to do stupid stuff like that, but whatever. Reese Witherspoon is executive producing this. I think Casey Musgraves is somehow involved in this. And they're going to get this thing rolling March 24th. And Jimmy, Mickey, and Orville will go around trying to find people. And when they do, they'll invite them to Nashville. And then these people will have a chance to win what they call a once-in-a-lifetime chance at stardom. What does that mean? Well, the winner of the 8-episode series will get a life-changing prize, that's their words, from Apple, include unprecedented support and exposure on that platform.
So that means they'll put them up one day as like trending or the top song or whatever listened to for a week, and then it'll go away.
I think the positive of this could be it sounds like they're looking for people, off the beaten path, and country music could use a little breath of fresh air. I think we've got some good new talent out there, and we're getting ready to, we're featuring more on the show. But yeah, bring in people who aren't. I don't want carbon copies of Luke Combs. I don't want carbon copies of Al Dean.
That's what I remember. One time a record exec had me go to Tootsie's in Nashville to watch an up and coming singer, and they're like, "We're thinking about signing this guy. He's just like Luke Bryan." And we went in, and the guy had his hat backwards, tight T-shirt, tight jeans, danced around, and I was like, we already have Luke Bryan.
Yeah, why do we need this?
Yeah, I mean, let's. Yeah. Why don't, be yourself.
I think that's one of the reasons I think record labels and radio are hurting, because they have fallen into that path. I mean, we saw great bands in the 80s and 90s do this. They have a hit song, and then the label, they want more like that. Give us more like that.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate.
And every label will come out with its own version of, Luke Combs comes out and has a look, and then shortly after that, all the other labels have someone with that same look.
Yeah. Well, we saw that with, we interviewed John Mellencamp back in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about it. In the 80s, he had that great success with, it started out with American Fool was really his first big record. It had a few hits, and they wanted that again. And he's like, I already made that record. I don't want to make that record. And so he made, the one with Pink Houses on. I guess that's the name of the album. And they kept, every time he would do that and have hits, they'd say, hey, do that again. He's like, I already made that album. Stop asking me to make the same album over and over again. So kudos to him, for standing by his feelings there. So we'll see what this show does. You'll see it in March. Okay, well, now for the two probably biggest entertainment stories, because they just are so long in the making. The first one is a sequel, and it's a sequel to a movie that was made in 1981.
Yes.
History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks. Now, it's not one of his biggest hits, because Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles would hold that, the producers.
But what makes this interesting is the amount of star power that's going to be in the sequel, because Mel Brooks is beyond a legend. And he's, 95, 96 years old? So this more than likely will be his last hurrah.
Well, it's great. He's not directing it. He's overseeing it. Obviously, it's his baby. We're going to link the trailer for it in the description so you can check it out. Watch. I love that he introduces the trailer. He looks good, sounds good. I mean, I'm so happy to see him doing so well, because when his best friend Carl Reiner passed away,
I didn't give it long after that.
Everybody was concerned that would be the end, but he's still out there doing it.
Yeah, he's something else. And, him and Carl Reiner, years ago, a good friend of ours, Stu Siegel, out in San Diego.
If you watched Bad TV in the 90s, Stu probably produced
the shows
it.
we were on, Stu produced it. He said that there was a deli in L.A. that Carl and Mel would go to twice a week or something, and everybody knew what time they would be there, and the deli would be packed, because someone would bait them and get them to, basically they'd go into a stand-up routine act, and everybody'd be able to go to lunch that day going, saw Mel and Carl do an act today.
That would be incredible. So this is the sequel, History of the World Part 2, and it's going to be not a movie, but a short series on Hulu. We could not possibly list everybody that's going to be in this thing, but we'll give you a couple of the big names. You've got Wanda Sykes, Danny DeVito, David Duchovny, Josh Gad, Richard Kind, Johnny Knoxville, Seth Rogen, Sarah Silverman, J.B. Smoove, and that's barely scratching the surface. And there's a ton of comedians and comic actors who you wouldn't know their name, but you'll see them in the trailer and go, oh my gosh. And it looks like it's going to be a hoot.
Again, everybody wants to get involved with him because, it's Mel Brooks.
Monday, March 6th, they'll do 2 episodes, and they'll drop 2 new episodes daily with the finale on Thursday, March 9th.
Oh, nice.
You can basically take a week and enjoy this. And if you've never seen the first one,
it's cheesy.
It's cheesy. It's cheesier than his movies usually are, but it still has some great memorable moments, and there's some great people
The
in
Last Supper, when he's asking who's got the check.
Yeah,
and
there's some definite good stuff there. So go back and watch the first one, and then watch this and be a part of comic history. And then the other big one, and this one, full disclosure, I have never read the book, but it is a legendary book. I think it was more of a coming-of-age book for young girls than boys. We weren't really reading this book, but if you know somebody who is a woman, she has probably read this book or is encouraging her children to read it. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. So Judy Blume is the author, and she wrote this book, I think, in 1970.
Never heard of it. Is this the one with George Burns? John Denver?
No, that's just Oh God.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, or Oh God Part 2.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of.
Okay. So I know it's basically about coming of age. I know it's about the changes going on with adolescent girls' bodies and minds and everything, and she really addresses all that. And they've been, I guess, trying to get this thing brought to a movie for many, many years, 50 some odd years, and it's finally happening. And we're going to link the trailer, and I did watch the trailer, and it looks super entertaining and fun. It's got Rachel McAdams as Margaret's mom,
Okay, I
Kathy
like her.
Bates as the grandma,
Like her.
a couple of big stars, and then the kids look like they're mostly newcomers, including Margaret. It says, and introducing the young lady's name. But I think if you are someone who has read the books or you're aware of the book, you're going to want to see this movie. And Judy Blume was on the Today Show the other day, and she said, it's rare for an author to say this, but I believe they have made a movie that is better than my book.
I have no interest in this.
Well,
yet.
it's not
I'll have to see this trailer.
It's not made for you, but Lily might be interested.
Okay. Maybe that's a good mother-daughter day.
There you go. Send them
Y'all
off.
need to spend some quality time.
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, it's a big story, and I got excited about it. I'm not even, my girls read it. And again, I've never read it, but I thought a book this strong that's been around that long, it's awesome that they're finally going to make it a movie. I hope that the movie lives up to everyone's expectations of what it should be. We're going to close today with an in-depth look at eggs.
There's a lot of them, and they're expensive.
I guess I'm blessed because I don't think about the price of eggs. I don't look at the price of eggs. We buy eggs when we need them. We don't need a ton of eggs, but when we do, we buy cage-free. It's Vital Farms is actually the brand we buy.
That's what we buy.
And they're not cheap. Those eggs on a daily basis were already more expensive than, like store brands. They were $6 or $7 a dozen. I was like, okay, whatever. But I'm seeing prices on shelves in certain places like $13, $14, $15 a dozen. And I think the last 2 or 3 times Katie and I have gone to the grocery, every time somebody in line has been complaining about the price of eggs. Why is this happening? I don't understand. It's crazy.
Well, I can assure you the cashier is not going to have the answer. Why is inflation happening around the country or the world?
Little tidbit for you. Cashiers at grocery stores do not set the prices of groceries. Who knew? I see so many people complain about things to a cashier. These poor women and men having to listen to people and be nice to them when I'm sure what they want to do is say, do you think I care about this? I don't want to hear about this. I don't do this. I'll get on the phone to the board of Kroger right away and let them know, hey guys, they're pretty upset about the price of eggs. We should probably lower those prices. Just give these guys a break. It's not their fault. But we did find some memes that we thought we'd share, so a kind of a special edition of internet stuff.
Okay.
But we wanted to share these because some of them are really good. Here we go. Our in-depth look at eggs. Start nice and simple with Snoop Dogg. You can't go wrong there. If you know, you know. Classic meme that they've just put new signs on. Why are eggs so expensive? The finger pointing.
Yes.
That's the best part. I
got a finger for them.
I've heard all of those things. My 2023 bingo card didn't include eggs and gas stoves. Right? When my friends who laughed at my chickens complain about egg prices, I have seen a lot of people who have chickens and they're like, oh, where are you now making fun of me?
A friend of ours, Heather, used to bring them into work. I bet she's living the high life now.
Oh, no kidding. Dyeing Easter eggs is so 2022. In 2023, we paint Easter potatoes. Every time I see a recipe that includes eggs as an ingredient.
Oh, these poor bakeries.
Oh, my God.
They're having a tough time right now.
What must they be spending? He went to Kroger.
Oh, it's that time of year.
I won't tell anyone if I win the Mega Millions jackpot, but there will be signs. So just a few of the ones we saw. If you find some great ones that you think are funny, send them our way. We love them. You can email them to us, tk1@tonyandchris.com. You can text them to us on our text line, 865-896-9363. Or if you just like to send us some coupons so we can save some money on our eggs.
Yes.
By all means, feel free to do that. I think we're done.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Got some really nice comments over the last couple of days on our text line. One young lady moved to Knoxville, Tennessee around the same time we did, started listening to us on the radio station we were on, and she says, I haven't listened since you left. I'm a diehard TK1, and she was very complimentary of the show and how it's growing. And we told you if you were here for the beginning of this that it was a big learning curve for us, and we were going to try to get better as we've gone, and we hope we have done that.
Well, that's one thing, Tony and I don't want to make it sound like we're some kind of hero, but, fearless, because we've always been told, hey, these guys, once by our bosses in the past, once they explain something to us, like this is the way to do it and this is how to go, we go all in. And that's what we did with this when we talked to the right people and they were like, you need to head in this direction.
Yeah, so we thank you for watching. We thank you for sharing these things, sharing links. I've seen more of you putting it in your Instagram stories. I saw Noel, one of our great TK1s, do that the other day. Please subscribe. Please like. Please share the good news, as it were, about this show. And come back and keep watching. We do have more needle drops coming up very soon.
Yes, that game is fun and addicting.
I had it, but last time we said we were going to put new ones up, I said some people are going to be stumped by these. And one of the young ladies who was like, these need to be more challenging, came back and said, okay, you got me. One of them she couldn't get. So we'll definitely mix it up for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.